Welcome to the review show. I am your host, Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for tuning in today. What I like to do is just take 10 minutes that you can go through and watch on your Sunday, and you'll have all these storylines to get ready for the Monday morning. We'll get started with Oklahoma State taking the loss at Iowa State. It was a weird game to begin with. Iowa State was favored by a touchdown. They ended up winning by about a touchdown. But Oklahoma State was able to fall. That allowed Ole Miss to move up, and the coaches poll up to ninth. And with the rise continuing to happen. Remember, with what's going on right now, the Big Ten is about to start cannibalizing itself. Michigan and Michigan State play this week. Ohio State still has to play Michigan. Ohio State still has to play Iowa. All of this stuff back and forth is going to start happening. So everything is in front of us as Ole Miss fans. And for everybody else, this is the point where movement can really start to happen. We always talk about how things are continuing to get weird. Well, this is an example of that. So as it starts cannibalizing what's going on, this weekend the cocktail party happens. Florida absolutely could jump up and get Georgia. I'm not predicting that to happen, but that's not something that you would be, if you saw that on Sunday when we were doing next week's review show, you're like, oh, I'm completely surprised by that. Florida beat Georgia last year. Georgia has a good team. Emory Jones, he's got some work to do. AR-15 is probably going to start that game. But just as a heads up, that is what is going on. So let's go through the week's games. Coastal Carolina dropped their first game to Appy State. It was actually a really good football game. I am a big-time Jamie Chadwell fan. I enjoy watching Coastal play. It was a game, though, that in Boone, North Carolina, was kind of a tough situation to go play in. But Coastal Carolina dropped that, and in turns, they probably dropped themselves some significantly, if not out of the polls. Tulane dropped a 55-26 decision to the number 21 SMU Mustangs. It just warms my heart to see SMU ranked after everything they have gone through. The NCAA literally took a horrible situation of a team that was cheating over and over again. Watch Pony Excess, the 30 for 30, if you don't have any questions about this, or you have questions about this, and you can see what happened and where they left SMU. And after 30 years, they're starting to climb their way out. So that's pretty cool. 55-26 win. Oklahoma struggled with Kansas, and struggle might be an understatement. This is a team that did not look very good. This is a team that probably should have lost, but they were playing Kansas. But they ended up being able to win 35-23. I think Oklahoma has 3 games coming up that they could lose. It would not surprise me if they dropped 1 or 2 of those games. We're not moving them in the playoff rankings because a win is a win and a struggle is a struggle, whatever is going on. But it would not surprise me if Oklahoma dropped. Michigan, 33-7 victor over Northwestern. Michigan just cruising right along, undefeated. They've got Michigan State Saturday. Illinois, 20-18 win over number 7 Penn State. This should affect them greatly. They should drop to the 20 level, but we'll see what happens. But a good win for Brett Bielema and the Fighting Illini. Wake Forest beat Army 70-56. I'll repeat that again. Wake Forest beat Army 70-56 in an unbelievable shootout up on the Hudson at West Point. But they were able to get the W. Cincinnati squeaked past Navy 27-20. Again, I'm not going to punish teams for a struggle win because it's going to happen from time to time, and it's not a reflection of how they are as an overall team. If he'd have lost the game, that's a different story. Purdue dropped a game 30-13 to Wisconsin. They were in the top 25 for the first time in like 7 years, and they immediately dropped out. Pittsburgh, number 23, defeated Clemson 17. Is it just me, or am I happy that Clemson's not in the playoffs? Everybody wanted different teams in the playoffs. Well, Clemson not being one of those teams, and if Oklahoma can drop a game, you're looking at maybe getting one from last year in. So that'll help college football greatly. Iowa State, who still has OU left on the schedule, defeated Oklahoma State 21-24. In Ames, Oklahoma State was number 8. Iowa State was unranked. That's going to affect the Cowboys negatively. The other unranked team that was a favorite this weekend was UCLA over number 10 Oregon. Oregon was able to pull that out 31-34. They used a strong running game. Joe Moorhead back calling the offense that helped out the Oregon Ducks. Ole Miss and LSU, the game was 31-7 at the end of the third quarter. There was a couple of garbage touchdowns. Ole Miss completely dominated that game. LSU came out with a little bit of a chip and drove down and scored a touchdown and took a 7-0 lead. And then Ole Miss went 3 and out and punted to LSU, and LSU drove straight down the field, went for it on fourth down instead of kicking the field goal, threw an interception on fourth down. From that point, Ole Miss took over the game. UTSA, the new member of the American, 45-16 winners over Louisiana Tech. Number 24, UTSA. The Roadrunners taking care of business. But obviously their coaching change and moving away from Frank Wilson is actually starting to pay some dividends for them. So congratulations to them. Alabama, 52-24 victor over Tennessee. It was a game that was in the fourth quarter, I believe, at 31-24 or something like that. It was a tighter game than the score indicates. Basically, after it went 31-24, Alabama scored again, and then Tennessee was driving. They got down in Alabama's territory, and I think threw a pick six or a deep return into the Tennessee territory. But it's a game that probably makes Alabama think it's all right, but who else can do what Tennessee can do? Alabama's already played Ole Miss, so who else can do that? All that's left that's pretty much on their schedule that can is probably Auburn. But that's the way it works out every year. San Diego State defeated Air Force 20-14. Miami Hurricanes beat NC State 31-30. That was interesting. Ohio State defeated Indiana 54-7. Ohio State is becoming a realistic threat to crash the playoff, honestly, after their loss to Oregon. And Texas A&M a 44-14 victor over South Carolina. That is the top 25 going on. Let's go to the playoff standings right now. There you go. You have Georgia at number 1. They've acted like a number 1 all year. We're going to leave them at number 1. The only other team that has acted like a top 5 team is Cincinnati. They struggled a little bit, but they got the W on the road at Annapolis. Not an easy place to play. Not an easy system to defend against, but they were able to get the win. Alabama at 4, Oklahoma at 3. That's a game that's I was thinking about, is it time to change those around, to move those around? But I was going to give it one more week because Oklahoma's 8-0 and things are about to get real. There's a chance that Oklahoma can drop not just 1 but 2 of these next games. And if that happens, they're going to be out of it completely. But for now, I'm going to leave it right where it is. Michigan State, I've got it number 5. They're undefeated. Kenneth Walker's a heck of a back. Mel Tucker is going to be on the short list at LSU. He's doing a fantastic job. And number 6 is Ohio State, who has basically climbed their way back into this situation. The Oregon situation, like Alabama lost to A&M. They're already in the playoff. Ohio State took a little bit longer to get back. But Ohio State still has Michigan. I think they still have Iowa. I think they still have Penn State. So that race is far but over. But the team that looks like is going to be the class of the Big Ten is Ohio State. They're still in the catbird seat to take that championship, but they play the other contenders. I think they play Michigan State and Michigan down the stretch. So it's going to get interesting. It's going to be an interesting November in the Big Ten. And yeah, so that should cover us this week. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been the review show. And what we try to do is give you about 10 minutes worth of information that you can go back and share little factoids around the water cooler and things like that. Again, the AP is not out yet at the time of recording. The coaches poll is out. Ole Miss comes in at number 9. Number 9 in the country. And get ready, Ole Miss fans, for a bunch of unranked people to tell you what you can't do at a top 10 school coming from an unranked opponent. They're going to be experts about that. So just don't fall for it. It's fine. It's a situation where if Ole Miss wins the rest of their games, they're going to probably end up in the playoff with every way everything turns out. So just win the games. And if you can do that at Ole Miss, you can always do that at Ole Miss. People talk about can't win the playoffs. 3 weeks ago, you couldn't win the playoffs, get in the playoff at LSU. That just is what it is. Now, people are going to move the goalpost to make themselves seem more important or justify what's going on. But just remember what is actually happening. Also, props to Ole Miss yesterday for winning the game on the offensive line and on defense. For those that want to crown it as a Johnny Manziel one-hit wonder type player. Defense, offensive line, running backs won the game yesterday. So congratulations for that. But for everybody else, thank you for tuning in to the review show. Continuing to get weird. We are one game away from absolute chaos. If Alabama wins out and defeats Georgia in the SEC championship game, you have guaranteed playoff chaos. Or if Georgia loses the SEC championship game against Ole Miss, if Alabama were to drop the Auburn game and go against Ole Miss. So it's interesting. It could happen. But I hope everybody has a good day today watching the NFL or had a good day watching the NFL today. Saints game tomorrow night. Have fun doing that. But until then, we'll see you later. Hotty toddy.